bevo.com.
You mentioned in your book that the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher, was responsible for transforming the UK economy from the sick man of Europe into a vibrant enterprise economy. If you were the CEO of this country, well, first of all, I think a lot of people would vote for you, but if you're the CEO of this country, how would you go about making sure that we prosper as a nation during a time when the new innovation, the new giants of innovation and business like China and India are coming through very strongly?
I don't know a lot about politics, to be honest, but from what I do know about it, I think it is essentially a matter of balance and priorities. So you've got to pick your issues, and then you've got to balance competing agendas, if you like, competing objectives within them. And if you shift balance too far too fast, all you do is set up a seesaw, you set up a reaction against it and you never move forward. So my priorities firstly would be economic competitiveness. I think it makes everything else possible. And it is a matter of balancing, making the UK an attractive place for entrepreneurs, for new investment, for businesses. In other words, letting business be driven by the dynamics of a competitive marketplace. You're balancing that against consumer protection, against employee protection legislation, against market abuse legislation, and you're balancing the incentives for entrepreneurs and wealth creators against the need to raise taxes, and they need to have some sort of fairness in the system. Quite a lot of balance to do that. I think this government hasn't done badly, I have to say. I know I'm going to be in a minority of one giving any praise to this government, but I don't think they've done badly in that balance. I think they've taken it too far into regulation, and it's really dangerous where we are now when they're so unpopular and they're going to be playing to the gallery a bit as opposed to doing what's right. So I'd want to be shifting that balance all the time in favour of more business orientation. I would have a minister for entrepreneurship and innovation, because I think that is where the competitiveness comes, and I think we may not be very competitive in invention, in basic scientific creation, but in using science to create new products and services and new businesses, I think we are good. We're the country of Virgin, we're the country of the Easy Group, we're the country of Dyson. We're good at that stuff, we can create big new businesses that are competitive globally. And I think it's a matter of making sure the incentives are right for entrepreneurs to do that, looking at what the market isn't providing and seeing how you can incentivize the market to provide that. So I would certainly have a minister worrying about that all the time, not doing it, but worrying about what incentives can be provided, what structures can be provided. I think the second thing is you've got to have a society that has some fairness around it as well. And I think the public services are a nightmare in this country. And I think basically what has happened there is the two cultures have gone too far, a target culture and a culture of management consultants. They've gone much, much too far. You want to shift the balance back, really. So measures are fine, targets though ought to be handled locally and ought to be balanced between medium and short term. And it isn't a one size fits all, and you've got to have some principles and common sense back into it. That is completely lacking, I think, at the moment in that entire culture. And anybody who's run a business, has a healthy scepticism about management consultants. The government does not have it, just takes their advice uncritically, and that's absolutely crazy. And the third thing I think the balance between privacy and civil liberty and surveillance has gone too far on the surveillance side, and it doesn't have enough checks and balances in. And we know we can't trust government with our information. We know that. It loses it, it misuses it. And fine, to deal with serious crime and terrorism, give them all the powers they want, but put it under the control of the judiciary, not under the control of the politicians, is what I would say. So those would be if I were in politics, that would be where I would be focusing my attention, those three issues.
bevo.com